Welcome again to my series of battle reports for the Nova Open Grand Tournament. So this is Game 5, and I was up against Vampire Counts. So I played Chin before the Southern Assault Tournament. He was running a Black Knight bust Death Star there, and sort of stripped down version. And for this list, he was really running the full bore Black Knight Death Star. So looking at his deployment, he had a couple of terror guys hiding behind the hill. He's trying to keep out of sight of my iron blasters. And then he has a number of chaff units, a large number of small dog units. He also has a bunch of small zombie units and skeleton units dotted around the board. And then over to his right, so you can see more of his dog units, and there's his Death Star. So looking at his Death Star, he had a Vampire Lord, kitted out with a sort of classic Blender Lord loadout. He had +2 strength magic weapon, always strikes first, and Red Fury, plus a few toys like the other Trickster Shard, which basically meant he gets 5 attacks rerolling to hit, at strength 7. For each wound he causes, he gets another attack. So he's doing 8 to 10 wounds reliably each turn. He had a couple of smaller vampires, one with a sort of anti-heroes, one with a lesser Red Fury Blender loadout, and he had a White King Battle Standard Bearer as well. Okay, so in my first turn, I really wanted to get rid of the Terrorgeist. I know the Terrorgeists are going to mess me up, something horrid. So I was able to shoot both cannons at them. I also shot my Man-Eaters. My Man-Eaters were able to nick a couple of wounds off one of them with their poison flaming shots. And the other Iron Blaster, I actually targeted the dogs, but I was able with the bounce and the overshoot to hit the other Terrorgeist and kill it in one shot. So I was quite pleased with that. That was a good start to get rid of one of them. The other one seemed like it was not going to be long for the world with 2 Iron Blasters continuing to shoot at it. So my turn, this is how my initial deployment was more or less, and I moved up very cautiously. I've got time. I want to shell him with cannons as long as I can. I don't really want to get too close to that Death Star. Here's my Iron Blaster shooting the Terrorgeist dead. So in his next turn, he moved his Death Star forward. He's brought his Terrorgeist round. The Terrorgeist is bleeding. You can see from the couple of wound markers there. He's moved his infantry up. And with his dogs, he's managed to place his dogs in a sort of awkward way. He's blocked my Death Star essentially with the watchtower there as well. He's also blocked in front of some dogs in front of one of my cats. This is a nice move, not because the cat's going to have any trouble killing those dogs. That's easy, but what I really want to use is use that cat to block his Death Star. All I need to do is make a march test, but cats are only leadership 4 and they can't use general or BSB. So that's basically prevented my cat from being able to block his Death Star, which is unfortunate. And he's put another dog unit in front of my cannon. I'm not sure exactly what for, and the cannon will fight off the dogs, no problem. And on the right flank, he's got a small unit of skeletons right over on the right flank. I've got a small unit of bulls. I'm going to bring those bulls forward, try and kill the skeleton, get into his deployment zone, and get those 2 points. So this is my start of my turn. And what I was looking at here was maybe I can get the Mournfang round behind his unit and then clear up on those small units, turn around and hit the Death Star. I couldn't see any way of blocking the Death Star particularly unless I got lucky with that cat. I could use the Mournfang to block him, but that seemed like throwing away too many points to me. So in my magic phase, I cast a Law of Heaven spell onto his unit. I think -1 to hit. I was expecting him to hit my Death Star next turn, and I rolled 2 dice at it just to draw out some of his Dispel dice, and I got double 6s, so I miscast with him immediately. Then I rolled a level drain, so he forgot his 1 spell. And I said, oh good, well at least I haven't lost any dice. And that's the sort of thing you should never say. The dice gods are listening and they will punish you for it. So I then threw 3 dice at a +1 toughness on my Death Star to try and improve them. The next spell I want to cast obviously is my regen. I rolled 2 6s again. So he miscasts as well. And of course I roll a Dimensional Cascade and he falls down the hole along with my Dispel Scroll and a chunk of my unit. So that was pretty catastrophic for the first turn. So over on this side, one of my cats has charged his dog, so I'm going to try and clear up on his dog units. My cannon fires again at his second Terrorgeist. Both my cannons fire at it, in fact, and I do a couple more wounds still only. That thing is still alive. It's still got 2 wounds. So over here, my Mournfang have charged his dogs. So I should be able to overrun just about and get out of the charge arc of those vampires. So that's what I do. I'm just outside the charge arc there. And that now leaves him open to charging my main unit. In the meantime, he's reformed all his units into conga lines. So he's basically one single file to present the minimum frontage against my units. He's trying to tar pit me here. Yeah, have a look. He's done it all over the place. The zombies can't quite get the single rank thing going. They're limited to twice their movement maximum for their reform. So he charges his main unit into my Death Star, and you can see it's somewhat depleted. The reason for that is he charged in and I activated the Hellheart. This is my ace in the hole against these vampire buses. The problem for them is that all their characters are wizards, except for the White King, and that means each one takes a miscast. Each miscast is going to blow a hole in that unit, and it's going to deny him his magic phase. So I was hoping I could really make a mess of his unit. And that's exactly what happened. I got 3 miscasts, and they just blew his unit completely to smithereens. All he was left with was a vampire, a White King, his unit champion. One of his vampires, the one with the sort of anti-heroes that I don't like because they got all the characters in the unit, dimensional cascaded, and the explosions from the 3 miscasts basically took out all of the Black Knights apart from the champion. I actually think this perhaps worked a little bit too well. What I really wanted with this was to have enough rank and file that I could actually score some combat rares off them. Not only that, but I killed his flaming banner, and I had my tyrant had a 2+ fire ward, so that took away the flaming attacks. So it worked perhaps a little too well. I could have done with a few schmucks to hit up on and try and crumble his vampire lord that way. A big problem with the Vampire Lord is that once you get down to just the Vampire Lord and nobody else, you can't get enough static combat rares to overcome the amount of damage he's putting out each turn. So in combat, I was able to kill most of his unit apart from the Vampire. So at this point, he still has his White King, and that's it. The White King has the Night Shroud, which makes it a little difficult to wound him, but and that White King wasn't going to survive long in this world. So my Man-Eaters charged one of his conga lines. Conga line or not, that didn't do him any good. Man-Eaters shredded them enough to crumble them completely. So I'm just going to work my way through those units. The conga lines are not going to stop. 2 Man-Eaters get 2 impact hits plus 10 attacks, poison, strength 5, plus 2 stomps. You know, they do a huge amount of damage, and all that combat res still stacks up and crumbles the unit. The one thing that would have made this really annoying would be if he had a champion in each unit and put that at the front, but thankfully he wasn't doing that, because that would have been very rude. So over here, I killed his BSB, but I'm still having to sacrifice somebody each turn to the Vampire Lord. At this point, I've charged a Saber Tusk into the flank to try and build up that static combat res, but I'm still not crumbling this guy. He's putting out far too many wounds each turn, and so he issues a challenge, and then I have to decline the challenge or accept the challenge with somebody. If I accept it, he gets all those points of overkill. If I decline it, then he can either pick my general or BSB to go to the back, and I don't get the benefits of them. So over here, the dogs are circling my Iron Blaster. I'm still shooting that Terrorgeist again and again. I'm trying to kill it. Over here, the Terrorgeist has come up to scream at me. And once again, I'm having to make those difficult choices. I think I'm declining, and he's putting my general at the back. If I accept with the general, he's just dead. Without magic, I can't stand up to that. He's got the other Trickster Shards, so my 6+ ward is useless. And I simply won't survive one round of combat against this guy. If I survive a round of combat, I can kill him in one go, but I'm not going to. So I tried to get my Morton Fang into the vampire in my turn to try and hit him with impact hits. Charging that cat in there was a mistake. I could have maybe got the Morn Fang in otherwise, but I couldn't quite make that wheel. So I just charged the unit of dogs. Maybe I can turn around and deal with him in a minute. My man-eaters up at the top left are still trying to deal with the conga lines of zombies. And I charged my Iron Blaster into the Vampire Lord. So the Vampire Lord is going to take the impact hits even before a challenge gets issued, and then I can decide what I want to do. So the Vampire Lord at this point, I think, from a combination of things, has taken 2 wounds. So he's down to just a single wound remaining. He issues a challenge, and I decline it. So he sends my general to the back. There's still a place in the unit that he can go, so he doesn't have to accept the challenge. He then puts all his attacks on my BSB. There's nothing I can do to save my BSB at this point. There just isn't. So he kills my BSB, dead, no problem. But he still only has that 1 wound remaining. As he kills my BSB, my general has to, move up, fill the gap, even though he's declined the challenge, so he's not allowed to attack, unfortunately. But he could get into base contact, and that's important because my guy was also carrying the other Trickster Shard. So at this point, his vampire needs to re-roll ward saves. He didn't have to re-roll them for the impact hits, but he now has to re-roll them. So my Iron Blaster attacks him. I think the beast scores 2 wounds. He fails both his armor saves. He picks up those 2 dice, rolls them, gets 2 4+ wards. Either of those failing would have killed the vampire. And then I say those dreaded 3 little words, other Trickster's Shard, and his face just fell. And he took up those 2 dice, rolled them again, and passed them both again. So the Vampire Lord survived. I've now lost my crown of command. Everybody just breaks from combat. And he runs down my primary unit. So he's destroyed my Death Star. And his vampire is running free with just 1 wound remaining, but he's now got free reign with the magic phase. He can regain those wounds with the lore attribute. So there he is. He's killed my unit. I had reformed the Mornfang. He couldn't figure out a way to get around me, so he charged me to try and scream. He screamed, did some wounds in combat, but I did some wounds back at him. This thing has been shot. I don't know how many wounds it's lost by this time, and definitely more than 6, but his vampire is casting Invocation every turn, trying to regain his wounds. And by this point, the vampire just heals himself up to full points. I don't get half points for the vampire. Over this side, my man-eaters have been chewing through zombies and skeletons and zombies and skeletons, and at this point have killed most of that stuff is dead. That's his dead pile. This is the last unit of zombies, so I was able to kill them as well. So the final results, we added up the points, and I have them here. I scored 1,978. He scored 1,984. So there was 6 victory points difference between us. For this tournament, there are no draws. So that was a win for him, and we added them up again. If that Sabertusk had rallied, that would have been a win for me. The half points from the Sabertusk would have been 10 points. That would have been enough to swing it to a win. But in both cases, we got a lot of the bonus point. We both broke each other. We both got units in each other's deployment zones. He got extra for destroying my general biggest unit. I got extra for taking the watchtower. So while it was a loss, it was a loss that gave me quite a few points. Okay, so that's it for the game. My next opponent is Orcs and Goblins.